AITAH for demanding my sister pay me if she wants me to babysit my nephews, even if her best friend's mom is dying? Posted by you/pretend_mode_9494. I'm 29F, child-free by choice. My sister Carlene is 27F and has two boys, ages 3.5 and 2. We live close to each other, and I've been in their lives since the beginning. We are each other's only family, as we come from a broken and dysfunctional background. I love the boys, but they are a lot of work, especially on top of my own career in social work and my personal reasons for not wanting kids of my own. I watch them/help out/babysit probably 10 to 20 hours a week, and it's getting exhausting. The times I've been needed have slowly increased, and over the last 7-ish months it's been like this. At first, it was Carlene looking for a part-time job, going to mandated courses to get unemployment, occasional movie nights with friends, etc., which I was okay with. Now I spend most of my free time at their house. Lately, the cause has been that her best friend's mom is dying and Carlene needs to be there. She's a single mom, and I get that it's hard, but recently I feel like she's using me, and I rarely see my fiancé since we both work shifts that change all the time. Sometimes when she's asked me to watch them and I've had other plans, Carlene sends me a voice message of the boys crying, missing me, guilt-tripping me, saying it's such a shame I care more about myself than them. She tells me she would ask someone else if she had anyone else to ask. She says really mean things about me being selfish for wanting to enjoy a date night when she has to choose between her kids and her best friend's dying mom. I could handle it if that's all it was, but now it's also affecting the next time we meet. When I get there, the house is a mess, there's nothing to eat, and they happen to have a day for a shower/bath, or Carlene casually mentions I need to put together a gym bag or something similar for them for the next day. These weird, extra things are obviously revenge. The first time this happened, I assumed she'd be grateful I helped where I could, and that it wouldn't be an issue if I didn't have time to do everything. I was quickly proven wrong. Before she got home, she casually asked if I had done the extra things, and when I hadn't, not all anyway, she suddenly had to stay a little later. This happened a few times, and I'm ashamed to admit it took me too long to understand what was happening. I was just glad she was updating me on her estimated arrival time, since she usually never did that. Another thing she does for revenge, I feel like, it could be my exhausted interpretation, is not prepare meals for the kids or even leave money. When I go to the store, she promises to pay me back but, you guessed it, tries to guilt me into saying she doesn't have to. She's also failed to keep her word about things she promised, saying she doesn't want to do things for me if I can't help her with the boys. The excuses and backtracking start immediately if I don't do exactly what she wants. The latest example, I asked to borrow a dress for a wedding because I didn't want to buy one, and we had always borrowed each other's clothes. She agreed. 4 days before the wedding, I couldn't show up as fast as she wanted on short notice, so she said I could forget about borrowing the dress, that she'd forgotten she'd needed herself. I had to panic buy one. Last month, she promised to pick me up after I left my car for some maintenance, and she didn't show up. I was stranded? It took her 2.5 hours to answer her phone and get there. She also had the audacity to huff and puff about how inconvenient it was that she had to drive me. Sorry this is so long, but it's been mind-blowing writing this all down and seeing what I'm putting up with. I'm such a doormat. So yesterday I told her I couldn't come today when she called desperately needing me to watch the boys for the evening, and when she started her tirade about me being selfish, I kind of just snapped. I told her to shut up and listen. If she thought I was that horrible of a human and so selfish, she had two options: either stop relying on me so much and letting her kids be exposed to my selfishness, or I'd really start being selfish and never watch them free of charge again, nor do anything extra without being compensated. She hung up without saying anything. After I stopped shaking, I hate confrontation, as you can imagine, I really started to panic because I feel like I just lost my last remaining family member. My fiancé said it was a long time coming and I should have stood up for myself ages ago, but he's biased because he loves me. I don't really have time for proper friends outside of work colleagues, so I don't know who else to ask if I made the biggest mistake of my life. What if I don't see my nephews again? What if I had just done it a bit longer and she'd eased up a bit? Am I the jerk for telling her to choose between my options? Edit to add, my two examples make it seem like I ask her or need her for stuff often, which I don't. The promises she breaks can be just as simple as having food for the boys when I'm with them. The dress and leaving me without a ride are just specific events that were easier to explain, but I quickly realized it's not accurate. Top/relevant comments. Commenter. Your sister is extremely irresponsible and selfish to the core. Is she receiving child support from the father of her children? If so, she should budget for daycare and babysitting. If not, she should pursue legal action. Having kids is a full-time responsibility and she needs to accept this fact. Ops response. I don't actually know that much about her finances, we don't really talk, I guess. I don't particularly like her as a person. My nephews are the only thing that keep me going back, in addition to the weird obligation I feel for the little family I have left. Commenter 2. Stop taking her calls. Stand up for yourself. And if you think the boys are in a not great home, abuse, neglect, no food, call CPS. Ops response. I'm a mandated reporter due to my profession, and I've been trying to distance myself from the situation to assess if I need to make the report. But it's always so subtle, and she knows what to avoid doing and saying because she grew up with CPS. Commenter 3. Where is the kid's father? He should be involved. Ops response. I don't actually know. She got irrationally angry when I asked about him while she was pregnant, and I left it at that. Commenter 4. You know that not seeing your nephews again is never going to happen. Your selfish sister has been taking advantage of you for too long, and to her, your standing up for yourself is just a temporary setback in her manipulations. The only way her behavior is going to change is when yours changes. You need to set some clear boundaries and follow them with solid expectations of how you expect her to treat you. For example, guilt-tripping, name-calling, accusations, etc. are to end. If she tries any of these manipulative tactics, there will be clear consequences. And you need to follow through. If you tell her you can't babysit and she starts the guilt, you tell her something like, no babysitting for a month because of your behavior. Altering your behavior is the only way you can change hers. Oh, and all those times she needs to comfort her friend with a dying mother, you realize those are just BS. She wants kid-free time and is just trying to play on your empathy. Your sister is a Class A jerk. Ops response. Thank you. I feel so stupid. I only thought about the friend's mom thing being BS like last week. I asked Carlene how she was doing, and she took a second too long to remember what I was talking about. Commenter 5. What has your sister done for you in the last year? It sounds like you are a doormat. None of what you said sounds unreasonable. You need to put boundaries now or it will get worse. I imagine you want to start a family with your fiancé at some point, you cannot keep this up. Ops response. I'm not even wanting a family of my own, no pets or kids. Regardless, I want to live for myself. She has allowed me to see the boys, that's mostly it. I couldn't imagine not being in their lives. Additional info from Op. Thanks for all the replies, there's been so many helpful ones already. I've tried to at least answer all questions. I just have to plan out the boundaries and then practice how to set them, and maybe even write down answers for the rebuttals I know she'll have. For those worried about my fiancé, he's a quiet, steady rock for me. He's been somewhat enjoying his gaming time without me around, so I hope he hasn't suffered too much. I'll focus on communicating with him better too. We're getting married in summer of 26, so we'll have to focus on us. Update 3 days later. A lot has happened. I'm trying to write concisely. During the first 24 hours after giving her that ultimatum, I decided not to answer her calls or texts to let her cool down. She called 77 times and sent over 100 texts and voice messages. They were mostly just her calling me a horrible person who abandons her family. With my fiancé's help, I outlined a few rules for the future if she comes to her senses and agrees to my terms. I wanted them to be ready, even though it looked like she would never come around. My conditions were, I could watch them up to 3 times in 2 weeks, not more than 4 hours at a time, meals needed to be provided, no bath time or bedtime, and I would not spend any money. I got messages from an unknown number, my fiancé says it's an app or something, saying how horrible of a sister I am because now they have to watch their mom die alone without Carlene there to comfort them. Based on suspicions I had earlier and the language similarities, I think this was my sister pretending to be her friend. I talked to my supervisor on Friday afternoon and asked for her opinion. I first asked if it was okay to talk about personal stuff, and she was great about it. I don't work with children, and CPS has never been a part of my work, so I wanted to double-check with someone more senior. We made a report together on Carlene. The supervisor said it's better to do so, especially now that it's escalated and she might retaliate against me by hurting the boys in some way, as she's obviously not above that. I'm probably going to give her next week to cool off before resuming contact, and depending on what the messages/voice messages say then, I might contact her. If they are as abusive as they are now, I probably won't respond at all. It makes me unbelievably upset, but I hope the boys will also get a more stable environment without me, since she's using them as pawns against me. My fiancé says hello and wants everyone to know he's here for me and wants to assure everyone I'm not really that bad of a doormat, just for Carlene for some reason. I'm looking into counseling through my work, it's too expensive out of pocket. Thanks for the messages and the swift kicks I obviously needed. For some reason, I'd become blind to my sister's behavior and was only concerned about whether I'd lose the boys from my life. I'll probably update when/if I resume contact with my sister if people want to know how it goes. Top/relevant comments. Commenter. I suggest you and your fiancé have a discussion about whether or not you would take custody of the kids if it came to that. Your sister sounds like she may land herself in jail or decide to abandon her kids. It's better to be prepared for any possible outcomes, including CPS removing them from her care. Ops response. Oh wow, true. We definitely don't want kids, but if the option is foster care for them, we might have to take them in. I'll talk to my fiancé as soon as he gets home from work. Commenter 2. Is there a reason the father of these children isn't helping to take care of them? I can't imagine expecting a family member to step in and handle a significant portion of the parenting of my own children. If she wasn't prepared to be a parent, she shouldn't have had 2 children. Ops response. She got really angry at me when I asked about their dads whenever she was pregnant, and I just left it at that. She hasn't had a long-term boyfriend since high school, as far as I know. I don't even know if the kids have the same dad. I kind of doubt it due to their differences in skin shade and features. Commenter 3. I hope you have been keeping all the nasty messages. Because you do need to make sure that you have evidence. Your sister is neurotic and abusive. She brought those kids into this world, and it's her fault she is a single mother. She is trying to shirk her duties onto someone else because she's lazy and wants to be a 21-year-old. Well, sorry, but she can't have that. She is responsible for those kids, not you. Additional info from Op. It's only Wednesday and I just blocked her. I don't understand when she sleeps. I've been getting messages/calls every 2 to 4 hours since last week. I'm crying because it feels like I'm shutting my nephews out, but this is exhausting. My fiancé has been checking the messages twice a day to make sure there's nothing important in between. I haven't read any of them. It's just her calling me names and cursing at this point, not even coherent sentences. Nothing on the CPS report yet. Second update 1 week later. Boring update, but my fiancé unblocked Carlene for a few hours to see if she was still sending abusive messages. She was. Nothing new there. CPS called and asked for more info, which I provided. They wanted specific dates and asked whether I had proof, and I sent them a lot of screenshots of messages with Carlene. I chose to make the report with my name on it, as I felt like it added credibility. It also kind of felt like a punishment for me to use my name, especially after waiting so long to make the report, meaning my sister could now know for sure it was me who reported her, and I'd face the consequences for it. I've had 1 Zoom appointment with a psychologist through my work. It's been great so far, and I already got homework on boundaries. It seems fast, but she said they're trained to move quickly since we are usually provided only 5 visits, and there should be progress in that time. I haven't heard from Carlene or the kids other than the abusive messages. I'm ashamed to say I've driven by the house a couple of times just to see if everything looks normal, and it does. I had a talk with my fiancé after a commenter suggested the kids might need to be removed from Carlene and asked if we were planning on fostering/whatever if it came to that. We aren't. We don't want kids and have known that from the beginning. The day-to-day life as a family with kids sounds absolutely horrible. To be honest, there's nothing that appeals to us. We don't even want pets. We would become resentful and probably lose ourselves in the process if we went there. I don't know how much there is to update after this, maybe if contact resumes, but honestly, I'm afraid to send her anything. She's just insulting me, and I don't think she'd even really read what I wrote if I tried. Third update 4 days later. Today was my birthday. I'm 30, yay, and I just had an ordinary workday. When I got home, my sister was waiting for me. My fiancé wasn't home yet. Carlene congratulated me and actually seemed normal at first, but when I couldn't behave like I normally would, attentive, asking how I could help her, etc., she got irritated. She said she'd always known I never loved the boys and was only jealous because I didn't have kids. She accused me of trying to make them love me more so I could falsify reports to CPS and get custody. I actually kind of laughed, it was so ridiculous. I told her I don't even want kids and wouldn't take hers even if they were offered. That might have been a cruel thing to say, but I'm just so tired. She somehow got angrier, saying how horrible the boys will now feel knowing I'd abandoned them and proving I didn't love them. I knew I couldn't win with her, so I just asked why she was here and where the kids were. Carlene said their whereabouts were none of my business, fair enough, and that she was there to tell me I'd never see them again. I'd already accepted that as a possibility, or even probable, so I didn't really react, which made her even angrier. She tried to grab me, but I'd stood about 6 feet away so she couldn't reach me. I just ran inside the building and closed the door behind me. Luckily, it locks automatically. She followed, so I shouted through the door that I would call the police if she didn't leave. She kicked the door and left without saying anything. I went up to our apartment and sat on the floor. My hands were shaking so badly I couldn't write, but I made a voice recording on my phone of everything in case I need to contact the police or a lawyer. After around 20 minutes of just breathing, the door lock rattled and I got really scared, until I realized it was my fiancé getting home from work. I was still on the floor, so he obviously freaked out. I told him everything, and he said we should make a police report and also update CPS about Carlene's erratic behavior. I still feel weird about reporting her, because we endured much worse as kids, and I don't think anyone reported our parents. But my fiancé asked if I would make this report at work if it was someone else's family. I said it's not fair, since I don't work with kids for this exact reason, but I guess I would report it. It's getting late and I can't sleep, worrying about making the police report tomorrow and wondering what to tell CPS. I guess I'll just explain the whole thing and let them decide what's relevant. Oh, CPS let us know on Monday, I think, that my sister is under investigation and gave me the contact info for their caseworker, so at least that report will be easy to make. Fourth update 1 month later. Sorry it took a while, but I've been trying to keep busy, taking extra shifts at work as I miss the boys. I haven't heard from them at all since my sister kicked at our door. CPS has been in contact a few times, but since we let them know we wouldn't be willing to take the boys unless absolutely necessary, not even for a short foster placement, they haven't been telling us much about their situation. It feels like we don't know anything anymore, but I guess we're outsiders now, so I get it. The family court date is set for next month, and we're debating whether to ask if we can go. Honestly, I don't think they'd allow it now, since we have nothing to do with the solution. I don't even know if we would have been able to attend if we had agreed to foster them, as the family courts here are usually quite closed. As far as the boys go, I've accepted I'll probably never see them again. I wish that, if I can keep tabs on them, I can reintroduce myself when they're 10 years or so older and have their own phones, etc. It's far away, but I have to have something to look forward to. CPS is still actively investigating. Before they stopped updating us, it sounded pretty certain that at least a short foster placement was needed. My sister failed to show up to mandatory meetings, wasn't available when they tried to reach her, and at least once she arrived at the house without the kids just as CPS came by, meaning the kids had been home alone while she was gone. They contacted me to ask if I knew where my sister was and for how long, but I had already stopped talking to her by then. Carlene claimed she'd just dropped something off a street over, so she was gone for less than 3 minutes. I don't know if I believe that, and CPS didn't seem to either. The reason we don't want/can't take the boys is mainly our health. I have a chronic illness, and my fiancé is in a wheelchair. We live in a 1-bedroom apartment, and having the boys' beds and stuff would make it inaccessible for a wheelchair, which just isn't okay. In addition, we simply don't want kids at all. I don't think I'd be a great parent, and I can't expect my fiancé to parent either since he never signed up for that. I hope the boys are small enough that they're easier to place, whether temporarily or permanently. It breaks my heart, but at the same time, I just can't do it. Thanks for the well wishes, and feel free to ask me if you have any questions. Editor's note. It has been over 4 months since Op's last update, and she hasn't posted any new information. This likely means either the sister is in a lot of legal trouble and Op can't discuss it, or Op simply isn't being updated on things, because like she said, she's not part of the solution, so she won't really be kept in the loop.